Speaking of Biden, Hunter Biden back in the news releases a statement that his taxes are under investigation. Now, right-wing media has made a big deal about this. But I mean, Trump's been under audit for years. They didn't really make a big deal about it. But now that it's Hunter Biden, it's a huge story. So let's get the details from Fox News.
Hunter Biden situation, and we're just getting more breaking news, and it's happening just before this show started. Telling our own Brooke Singman that two sources familiar with the investigation tell Fox News the investigation being run out of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware into Hunter Biden's quote, tax affairs includes looking at that laptop purportedly belonging to Hunter Biden. Fox News first reported in October.
Yeah, where the fuck has the laptop gone? All the right-wingers aren't talking about it anymore. Where did Tony Bobolinsky go? Where was that bombshell at? I'm still waiting for the evidence and exactly what Hunter Biden did that I'm supposed to be upset about.
That the FBI subpoenaed a laptop and hard drive reportedly belonging to Hunter Biden in connection with a money laundering investigation in late 2019. One document obtained by Fox was a subpoena sent to the owner of the laptop repair shop to testify before U.S. District Court.
The laptop repair shop that is packed up
goes on to say
and left.
We first reported that the FBI was in possession of that laptop. So we're not only seeing here, Jason, tax investigation, a grand jury tied to a target subject of Hunter Biden, but also now that the laptop is part of this and that it was now overt, not just a covert part of the FBI investigation.
Right, and of course, there were a lot of news organizations that didn't want to look at any of this prior to the election.
Whoa, 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 whoa. There were a number of news organizations who wanted to see the laptop and weren't allowed. I believe the New York Times requested to see the information that Tony Bobolinsky was trying to present, and they were told, nuh-uh. They were shopping the story around before the New York Post published it. The reputable Wall Street Journal said, nope, we don't want any of this. Wall Street Journal, which is also owned by the same people that own Fox News. Also the same people that own the New York Post. Journalists weren't allowed to look at the information. Because if they could fact check it, if they could verify the claims, there wouldn't have been any fucking story, is my guess. I don't know. I have a sneaking suspicion that the laptop isn't even real. Or at least doesn't belong to Hunter Biden. The whole thing stunk. And as we've proven time and time again, Rudy is not a credible witness to anything. This dude's lying.
In the election, if they did that, so they avoided the story. And I can understand Trump supporters looking at this and
that's another, they avoided the story. That's all I fucking heard about in the weeks leading up to the election. Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden, Hunter Biden. Fuck! Hunter Biden wasn't running for office.
By it. Perhaps there's something there with regard to Hunter's business dealings in the Ukraine or in China. We don't know yet, but we do know that there's a very
Hunter's business dealings in China.
At these matters, depending on which party.
Keep that in mind. We're getting ready to talk about China.
To the press's attention. So we don't know if it would have affected the election, but I can understand why a lot of Trump supporters right now are furious that this is only being looked into at this point.
Fucking Trump supporters are always furious about it, any and everything. Fucking Republicans run this entire goddamn country, and they act like they're being oppressed constantly. Fucking tired of it.
You know, Jonathan, quickly, We saw in the Durham case that the Attorney General putting a special prosecutor label to protect perhaps what's going to continue in that investigation. This one, potentially he could do the same thing as you're getting ready for January 20th.
Well, this will be the first test of what Joe Biden has said he will do with his Justice Department. Joe Biden has pledged that he will keep his Justice Department at arm's length, that he will not intervene.
Unlike Trump,
well, it doesn't get much more of a...
Bill Barr has been operating as just another arm
investigated by
of the Trump administration
for business dealings with China and tax affairs. So how Joe Biden handles that investigation will be a really...
Yeah, let's talk about China. There's another story making the rounds in right-wing media. A salacious story about a Chinese spy. Suspected Chinese spy reportedly slept with and courted U.S. officials to gain intel. Now, I didn't hear nearly as much about the woman from Russia that infiltrated and slept with Republican officials as I've heard about this in the last couple of days. The one that infiltrated the NRA. She was a Chinese Matahari who allegedly slept with at least 2 Midwestern mayors while cozying up to a slew of Poles across the country in a bid to infiltrate the U.S. political system. Christine Fang entered the U.S. through California as a college student in 2011 and spent the next 4 years wooing everyone from local politicos to U.S. congressmen. Among the Poles who Fang got close to was California Democratic Rep Eric Swalwell, who, as I understand it, didn't fall for it. Cooperated with the FBI investigation into her that ran her out of the country. And she also once helped raise funds for Representative Tulsi Gabbard. She was on a mission, a U.S. counterintelligence official said of Fang. Now, this investigation started back in 2015, under the Obama administration. It sure doesn't seem like Democrats tried to cover it up or anything, or that Democrats were complicit or fell for the bullshit. The idea was for Fang to maneuver herself into key government circles and sometimes politicians' beds to gain personal information about them while ingratiating herself with unwitting potential up-and-coming heavy hitters. U.S. officials know of at least 2 mayors who had romantic relationships with Fang. Now, they didn't mention who the mayors were. And they said Midwestern mayors. I kind of wonder if they were Republicans. The accused spy had sex with an Ohio mayor in a car, an incident caught on FBI electronic surveillance, an intelligence official said. The mayor asked Fang at one point why she was into him, and she allegedly replied that she needed to improve her English. Another U.S. mayor described as older and from an obscure city in the Midwest. An obscure city in the Midwest. That's what leads me to believe that it was probably a Republican mayor. Called Fang his girlfriend at a conference in Washington, D.C. in 2014. Wong, who was present at the gathering at the time, said the mayors insisted that the pair's relationship was the real deal despite their age difference. So now back to Swalwell here. Fang helped place at least one intern in Swalwell's office, according to 2 sources. She also raised funds for Swalwell's 2014 re-election campaign and interacted with the congressman at a number of events over several years. There is no evidence of any illegal contributions being made, according to the Federal Election Commission, and records don't indicate that Fang made any donations. But federal investigators who began investigating Fang based on what they considered her suspicious behavior informed Swalwell of their concerns involving her in 2015. At that point, Swalwell, who has not been accused of any wrongdoing, cut off all contact with Fang. Kind of buried the lead there in the story, didn't they? But now, let's talk about Chinese influence in the U.S. government. I really, really want to talk about it because it's been happening for quite some time. Do you guys know the name Elaine Chao? She is currently the Transportation Secretary. She is married to a guy by the name of Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader from Kentucky. Why is that relevant? Because Elaine Chao, who is married to the Senate Majority Leader, who is the Transportation Secretary for these United States, her dad is one of the owners of one of China's biggest shipping companies. Elaine Chao caught pimping her family business with China. Where is the outrage over that? Married to one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful politician in this country. Holds a very powerful secretary's position herself. But yet I've got to hear about Beijing Biden all the time. It would be considered inappropriate to bring one's family members to official work meetings and or business trips, but of course the Trump administration is not normal. Rather, it's a family affair with the primary goal of which is to enrich Donald Trump and the people who surround him, who among others include his very not very bright son-in-law. I'm a conspiracy theorist? How am I a conspiracy theorist? I'm showing you the evidence. So it's not entirely surprising that Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao thought it would be no big deal. And by the way, I have been reporting on Mitch McConnell's corruption for damn near close to 20 fucking years. I'm from Kentucky. I was the news director of 11 radio stations in Kentucky. I know Mitch McConnell. I fell asleep during one of his speeches he was giving. I might have been doing meth all weekend at the Brickyard 400, but that's a story for another time. This was way back in 2005, I do believe. And I had to attend a Mitch McConnell speech on that Monday morning after the race. So Elaine Chao thought it would be no big deal to bring her relatives, who happened to have major business interests in Beijing, to meetings with government officials during a visit to China in the fall of 2017. The New York Times reports that in October 2017, an alarmed official at the American Embassy in Beijing wrote an urgent email seeking advice concerning a series of unorthodox requests made by Chao's office related to her first visit to China as a Trump cabinet member. According to the Times, Chao, who is married to Senate Leader Mitch McConnell, wanted federal officials to coordinate travel arrangements for at least one family member and include relatives in meetings with government officials. Relatives who own one of China's biggest shipping companies. Remember, she's the Transportation Secretary. James Chow founded Foremost Group, a shipping, trading, and finance company now run by Elaine's sister, Angela Chow. While the company is based in New York, its fleet is, per the Times, overwhelmingly focused on China. 72% of raw materials it has shipped since early 2018 going to China. China and the U.S. company reportedly constructs almost all of its vessels in the state-owned shipyards in China, some with loans from the Chinese government. Why the hell do we never hear about Mitch McConnell and his connections to China?